Hopefully we won't have any issues today, you guys. I apologize if there is some freezing, but in case, I've got another Klaviyo on the line, Alex, who's on standby. If anything go down on me here. But before we get started, please make sure that you guys post up in the chat and let me know who you are, what company you represent, and where you're tuning in live from today. Also, if we have any Grace Eleyae fans in the house, please let us know that in the chat too. Okay. I'm not seeing anyone in the chat. Hopefully I'm not freezing. Maybe somebody give me an update.
You're not freezing, Morgan. You're good.
Awesome. Woo! All right, you guys. So a little about Live from Your Laptop. For those of you who have joined us in the past, thank you so much for coming back and tuning in again. I love seeing each of you every week. It is the highlight of my week on Tuesdays. For those of you who are new and have never heard of Live from Your Laptop before you registered for this event, welcome to the show, you guys. We like to keep it super real here on Live from Your Laptop, where we talk to some of the most up and coming and fastest growing business owners and marketers who are using Klaviyo to grow. So in the next hour, you're going to get actionable tips for scaling your business and making the most out of Klaviyo. After we do a little interview, we're going to do a little fun activity just to take our minds off of work and learning something new. So here's the game. Now I see all the chats coming in. I'm so happy that you guys are with us today. Colorado, hopefully you don't have too much snow over there. So here's the game plan for the next hour. We are going to be chatting with the co-founders of Grace Eleyae, Grace and Emmanuel. You'll be inspired by their story, and then we're going to talk marketing strategy and give you some great examples from their Klaviyo account. I can't wait for you guys to see this, that they're going to walk us through. I always rope in some of the questions from the community when you guys submit them when you register. But I also encourage you guys to pop some questions in the chat, and if we have time, we'll get to them. If not, you guys are always great at answering each other's questions. That's the beauty of having such a great community. After we do our little interview, we're going to be learning some hair care tips, and so tips to taking care of your hair without sacrificing your style. Like, I'm all about that, and hopefully you guys are too. I don't know, Emmanuel, are you teaching this class at the end?
I'm gonna show y'all how to get sexy hair like mine. Absolutely. If you like the bald look, that is.
Yes, loving that bald look. That is sexy. All right, then in true Live from Your Laptop fashion, we're gonna do a giveaway of $150 worth of Grace Eleyae products, including a couple slaps, face masks, a pillowcase, and more. And this is pretty awesome news, you guys. I just learned that we're gonna add a second giveaway today, which is let me give you the backstory of this. So Grace Eleyae, they're actually a partner of ours too. So they do a lot of email marketing training and courses for other business owners. So they're part of our partner program. And Emmanuel was so nice enough to do a second giveaway today. So a second lucky winner is going to win an audit and setup of a Klaviyo account for one person. So that's pretty exciting. They definitely know their stuff, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys. So stay tuned for that. All right, you guys, let's do this. I'm gonna hand it over to Grace and Emmanuel to introduce themselves, and then we're gonna kick it off with some questions. Grace, take it away.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Grace Eleyae. I am one of the co-founders of Grace Eleyae Inc. and the current CEO. We started about, and I guess before I even started or found the idea, I actually worked in PR, and then I was an executive assistant to a CEO in Baton Rouge for a company called Enrichment, and then from there I worked for B2B startups. So I was constantly working with SMBs throughout my career before actually starting my own my own business that became an SMB. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So you do have some experience. You didn't just start this blindly, right?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Emmanuel Eleyae. I'm an 04 graduate of the Military Academy at West Point. Went into the Army as a tanker, served in El Paso and Korea, big guns. I was an armor officer, so learned a lot about systems, logistics, operations there. Left the Army, went and got my MBA at UTEP in international management, traveled to 25 countries learning how to do business. landed at Amazon fulfillment after that, where I learned e-commerce from the inside, right? So my last job there, I was managing a 1.1 million square foot fulfillment center with 750 employees, 30 managers, and we were shipping 1 million packages a week, and made an observation that, hey, these FBA people are making a bunch of money. So they'd have these goofy, weird niche businesses like bacon store, bacon flavored underwear, bacon flavored lipstick, bacon flavored hair product. It was just a weird store. But one month it was 1 pallet. The next month it was 2 pallets. And it was like, wow, they're growing, and Amazon's handling the shipping, fulfillment, building them a little mini website, customer service, and everything else. They're sitting back collecting a check. I'm on the wrong side of this thing. I need to find a product, ship it into Amazon, and, you know, sit back and collect my check. So luckily at that time I was thinking of leaving. Grace was like, I have an idea for a product. And I was like, sure, I have an idea for a system that might work. And so we got together. A year later, we had done 750K in revenue. Our second full year of business, we had done 5.5 mil. So it was like, this works. And so for me, I'm a systems guy. I'm like, look, I want to see if this will work. So 2 years ago, I lashed out on my own, not on my own, but we launched our consulting arm, Eleyae Systems. And now we help other clients get to that go from 6 to 7 figures in 90 days or so. And that's kind of what we do, supporting other businesses just to kind of see if it's going to work. And we've helped 12 different brands scale from 6 to 7 figures in about 3 months. So it's been a fun journey. And so here we are.
Damn, like I did not know all that about you guys. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's amazing. Some great backgrounds there that are just coming together, and that's awesome about the consulting business. So we'll definitely have to make sure to share that out in a follow-up email so our community can check you guys out if they need some help. Awesome. All right, let's jump into the questions because we have a lot of knowledge to drop on you guys today. So Grace, tell me how Eleyae started. What is your company's mission?
Sure. So we started in 2014. I was actually a year earlier. I was traveling to my mom's native Kenya. So my mom's from Kenya, my dad's from Nigeria. And when we were there, my hair was chemically straightened at the time. I was heat straightening it, and we had it was summer in Kenya at the time. So it was very hot and dry. And unfortunately, after an 8-hour round trip to the coast, round trip car ride to the coast and back, caused my about a 2-inch wide diameter hole of breakage in the middle of my head from just bumping up against a headrest for 8 hours. And my mom had actually warned me that I needed to potentially wear a scarf or something because it can get dry and dusty on these road trips. And I was like, I'm on vacation. I'm trying to look cute. You know, I want to, you know, I didn't take her advice, basically, much to my own despair. And that kind of was what got the wheels turning of there has to be something out there that is both stylish enough to feel cute on vacation, but it's still protective of the hair. And so over the course of the next year or so, I kind of let the idea form in my head. And in February of 2014, I created the first prototype of a slab. It was, and I used my friends and family as my first focus group. So my mom, sisters, aunts, you know, they kind of gave me feedback, told me that this is actually something that could, you know, be a business. My mom's actually the one that saw the potential first. And a few months later, I think that's when my brother and I were talking, because years earlier we had actually made an agreement that I would, you know, come up with if I would come up with an idea, will you help me scale it? And that's exactly what I called him to you know, talk through. You know, he actually gave me a credit card of his that had $10,000 on it, and said, let's see what we can do with this. You know, and so with that we created our first manufacturing run. We created the website, created all the content for the website, and then we finally launched in September of 2014 with our own website. And before that, and up until that point, I was just making them myself and selling them on Etsy. But that's basically how we got started.
That's awesome. Wow. That's crazy. Brother, sister team. That's really powerful. So Emmanuel, I know you started talking about this before, how you guys kind of scaled the business. So, you know, obviously starting a business from the ground up is really hard. Grace said you guys had a $10,000 limit credit card. And it's really scary, right? You don't know if you're going to fail or not. You kind of just take a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. But you guys went from making around 80K in your first year to about $5 million in your second year. And then now you're making like 7.5 mil, like a year in revenue. Like that is tremendous growth. So let's talk about what are some of the key things you focused on during that time of hyper growth.
Chris, did you want to take it, Grace?
I'll start and then you add in because you'll get real nice and technical.
Yeah, I'll get deep.
So when we launched in September of 2014, and to clarify, we did 80,000 first year, it was 600. So it was about just under 10x year over year for the first 3 years. But in September of 2014, we emailed hundreds of different YouTubers with a high following. At the time, they weren't known as influencers. And we knew that our product needed an explanation, that we couldn't go direct to retail, for example, because people wouldn't understand in a beauty store why it's so expensive, or at Nordstrom why there's satin on the inside of this beanie, right? And so what we did was we knew we needed help and partnering with different influencers, now as they're known, to get the word out there. So we emailed hundreds of different influencers, got responses from 3. One said no, one said not right now, I'm moving, and the last one said, I've never heard of sleeping with satin, but maybe I'll do a video, maybe not, just send me one. And so a month into our launch, we were kind of rejoicing at the 1 or 2 sales in a day. And all of a sudden in October sometime, so this is September, we launched in September, October sometime, we suddenly had 25 sales in one day. And we're like, whoa, what was that? Then the next day it went up to 50, and then it did this little spike until it dropped off. And my brother did a bunch of digging, and we discovered that it was all coming from that one maybe, the one person who said, maybe, go ahead and send it to me and we'll see. All the traffic was coming from her website. And that's the first marketing channel that we kind of found was partnering with these influencers and using their platform to kind of get the word out there, to explain this very, very niche in-between product. And that's kind of what carried us through 2015. And I can let you take it from there, Emmanuel.
Yeah, and so that influencer piece, it was massive for us, because we learned, to me, what was some of the best business advice I ever got was, before that happened, we were trying everything. Like Grace was saying, we were reaching out to influencer. I was in Etsy groups, messaging other Etsy sellers on the forums, because that whole strategy of getting other Etsy sellers to buy. We were on Amazon. We were running Amazon ads. We were running paid ads. We were doing everything we could. We were going to events. We were going and basically speaking at the mic and saying, by the way, we've got products, right? Like we were trying to hustle hard, right?
Yeah.
But when I was talking to a mentor of ours after that happened, where we discovered that influencer had worked, she was like, why are you doing all those things? Didn't you say that influencer led to a bunch of sales? She was like, well, double down on what works. And so literally that advice, we shut down everything else we did and just started going after every influencer we can find, whether they're free, cheap, and building a system around that to milk that, right? And so we went from doing that, learned about email marketing, right, the follow-up, because what we saw was when we would launch influence, we worked with Cloudy Apples, we worked with Taryn Guy, we worked with some pretty decent sized influencers, and we were just doing 20, 30 influencers a month. And what we would see is the influencers put out their video, and we'd have a spike in orders, then it would drop, right? And then we'd have another spike. So it was like, well, more influencers, right? They just keep going. And that was working for a while, but we heard about, this thing, Klaviyo and email marketing, lead generation. And so instead of just having the influencers go to the store and buy stuff, we put a landing page or a squeeze page up, so that instead of them going straight to the store, they would go to this page first, sign up with your email address. Then we get their email, and we had a nurture sequence, which, interestingly enough, the one we have right now is the one that we built way back then. It's lasted that well. Like, I'm a super Klaviyo fanboy because of that. It's money while you sleep, the flows, autoresponders, that's when we caught it. So 2015, we launched an influencer campaign where we saw 30% sign up rate, right? So I was kind of annoyed. It was like, oh man, I could have had 100% of traffic hitting the site, but only 30% would make it through. But what would happen is we actually got more buyers, interested buyers in, and then they would buy anyway. They wouldn't stop because of an email. And then after that, what would happen is we'd get sales on the back end. And even better, I could market to those people every month after that. And so just having that process of traffic source to landing page to email follow-up is what really started us off. And so every influencer, that's what took us to our first 84K month, right?
Yeah.
Because then we added in offers to our email list. We learned about BOGOs, right? And just now we had a list, an owned list, right? That's the Klaviyo terminology, an owned list where we can just try out offers. Now, instead of paying Facebook and paying Google and paying influencers, we have our own audience that we can send out different offers, different products, and we would scale that way. So that's what took us through 2015. And once we have that kind of dialed in, because you also have to learn supply chain, which was miserable, right? And I will tell you, the biggest thing about scaling that fast, I don't recommend it to anyone. It is pain, pure pain. It hurts. All right, it's awful, but either way, it's nice to say, but it's very hard to do, and I don't recommend it. But what happened is after we kind of digested that level of growth, the next year, that's when we had our owned audience, solid offers and products that we can launch to the audience, and then it was time to change out a more scalable traffic source. And so we went from influencer marketing, which was boom or bust, to paid ads. And we hired a friend of mine, Ben from Bidico, and he came in and it was like, challenge. I bet you our supply chain is so strong, we can keep up with any sales. He was like, oh yeah, watch me. And we went from doing 84K a month to that December, we did our first $1 million month. Like it just took off because paid ads, it's the match. That just kind of accelerates. However, we were still making 30% of our revenue from email, the back end sales. So that first sale acquisition, I don't recommend people start out with that. That should be after you do all the other things, right?
Sure.
Start with the organic, the influencer, the SEO, that kind of stuff. Build your audience, your owned audience, SML list, email list, then turn on the gas with the paid ads.
Wow. That's like a lot of knowledge just dropped right there. That's amazing advice. I'm seeing in the chat, some people are saying that they're not really having luck with influencers. It is a very saturated market right now. When you guys started, they weren't really called YouTube influencers. They were kind of just getting going. So do you have any advice for how do you guys work with influencers today? And we actually might get into this question, but maybe just to kind of close this question out. How are you guys, is influencers a good starting point? And then you kind of move away from influencers?
I'll let Mel again go into the detail of this, but I know that now would not be it's not the same thing that it was, like you said, 6 or 7 years ago. To use influencers for specifically to drive revenue isn't necessarily the best strategy. It's more that you would use influencers as content creators instead of revenue generators, right? And so in email, like I said, you can go into more of the detail and the nitty gritty of it, but you really want to use them to your advantage to basically find people or influencers who are right in your core demographic, and you have them make content for you, really on your behalf, and then you start pushing that content. Make sure you get the license rights and all that stuff, and then start pushing that. So, but Amal, go into the detail of that.
I wouldn't wish influencer marketing on my worst enemy if they were jumping into e-commerce, right? It does not work as well anymore, right? Like when we started, people were actually influential over their audience, right? And what's happening, and it was organic, like that lady who, it was our initial pop, we tried to hire her. Right. She didn't get paid for that, what she did. And it led to a massive business that we were able to build. She demanded not to be paid because she wanted to be authentic. How often do you hear that nowadays? Right. Like she wouldn't even do another video for us because she was like, I've already worked with you guys. I don't want my audience to think that I'm just, a shill for companies. And so you don't see that anymore. And so the market has changed. Right. And so influencers, are not as influential anymore. Or if they are, they're going to cost you an arm and a leg, and you're going to work through their manager, or you're going to work through all kinds of legalese, or they're going to have so many restrictions where you can't use the content, or they only post it on their Instagram story. So it disappears. Right. And so it just isn't as lucrative when it comes to revenue. Like if you're all about branding, which I don't think this is the audience, it's like, I just want to be Coca-Cola and just get our name out there. Those are the folks that are doing influencer marketing now. That's when I see influencer marketing. That's who's doing it. Right. So now what I do, we use influencers as basically we're arbitraging the cost of content production. So if you try to make a video for your brand, it's going to cost you $2,500 at a minimum for maybe a 30-second spot, a commercial, right? You're going to have the production house, you're going to have multiple cameras, you're going to have actors, you're going to have day rates, all of that. However, influencers a lot of times are pretty close to what a production house will do. They'll have sound engineers, they'll have video guy, they'll have solid video equipment, they'll have scripting skills, they'll come up with a great video. And guess what? You pay them, $200, $300, $500, $1,000. And guess what? Once you build a relationship with them, they'll also make more videos for you. And outside, separate from what a production house has, they have an audience that they can show your product to. So if you even break even to me, you have just won in terms of content production. So if you look at influencer marketing, not as influencer marketing, but creative, right? Content development. Now, all of a sudden the unit economics shift and the pricing shifts. And now it's cheaper to use influencers as content producers for you rather than revenue generator. It's not a marketing channel now. It's a creative studio that you have. And then actually you realize you may not even have to pay. It shouldn't cost you anything for a lot of them, because there's a lot of people who are just starting out, especially if you get them early. So if I were to say, if you were to hold my head to the fire and say, influencer marketing, we're going to do it, then I would say, okay, go after as many free influencers who are just starting out, who look exactly like your demographic, like your target market, your ideal customer profile. Find as many of them as you can, get a VA from the Philippines or something, and reach out to them and say, I'll give you product if you'll make me a video. Because now you'll have 20, 30, 50 people sending you video creative. And I don't know if any of you guys are like us or like me, we didn't want to be on video when we started. So basically use these people as spokespeople. They send you creative, send you ideas, then you hire an editor and you can piece together. Now you have 30 pieces of video content, UGC, basically it's the equivalent of UGC, that you can then splice together to make all kinds of different video creative that you can then use for your ads, your emails, your website, your Amazon listings. You can use it everywhere. Or if you want photos, have them send you photos. That's how we do influencer marketing now.
That's super great advice, you guys. I didn't look at it from that point of view. So awesome tidbits there. Thank you for sharing those. Okay, we're gonna move along. My internet's getting a little weird. It's freezing on me. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. The third question comes from the community. How did you guys manage inventory with growing press and brand awareness? This member of the community said they're having a hard time keeping inventory in stock. So when we get low, they're very hesitant to seek out opportunities for increased exposure because they don't have product, right? So, and I think we talked about this in the last question or the question before. Do you have any, creative ideas to grow your brand while waiting for your inventory to replenish?
Yeah. That's a great question. That is the magic question even. I always look at it as a good problem. Entrepreneurship in general, there will be a lot of, it's just problem after problem after problem. The problems get better or bigger or whatever, but you always have these problems. And this is actually a really good problem. So whoever that is in the community, awesome job. You made a product that people want to buy, right? And you're running out. So it's okay that you're running out of inventory, because that's actually a good problem to have. So one, be okay with the fact that you're running out, because that's good, right? People want it. The other you have, and then there's a couple of levers you have to pull. So one is diversifying your manufacturing. One way that you can, if your product is domestic, then maybe looking into how you can maybe keep certain raw materials nearby or with your manufacturers, or purchase them ahead of time. For us, we might have we have clothing products, so some of them we might have cut pieces as well as raw materials that we have in-house ready to go to the manufacturer, and so it shortens the time between. Another thing is back orders. So we utilize back orders tremendously in our, especially in the beginning. So, one, it helps you to know about how units you actually need to purchase. And two, it allows you to not actually lose the sale, essentially. So as long as you're really communicative with your customers and you make sure that they know what's coming, then you can go ahead and also put your items that are really popular on back order. And then there's so many different levers. And man, I'm going to let you talk more about like the pricing and the different things like that, and even the sales velocity, switching your mind, to the right, in terms of planning, making sure you have the right things in your mind when you're planning your inventory purchasing.
Yeah, sure. This is one where I actually appreciated having my background from Amazon here, because the supply chain side of things is where I was able to offer the most help. And what I found is it's a mindset shift. And I was glad I had worked at Amazon, because I see it a lot, especially with the clients we work with and the people that ask us for help. It's just something that isn't really taught, right? Is when you think about your inventory and running out, just don't run out, right? And it sounds hard, right? But it's let me make it easier. So the way to make it easier is you think about your inventory in terms of units. You're probably going to run out, because a lot of people, what they do is they buy inventory without really a plan. They're like, oh, what's my MOQ? Let me buy whatever my MOQ is, and then I'm going to try and sell it all, right? And they're working backwards. What you should be doing, if you have sales history, that's what you do initially. But if you've been selling it all, you have a historical sales figure, right? You know about what you're selling per day, per month, per week, some given time period. So instead of thinking about your inventory, instead of units, think about them in terms of days. How many days of inventory do I have? So if I have 100 units in inventory and I'm selling 10 per day, I have 10 days worth of inventory, right? And so when you think about it that way, you can start to project out into the future and slow down your sales to keep inventory, or increase your sales to draw down inventory. And suddenly you have a little bit more control. So that's the first thing in terms of the technical side of things. But in terms of the question, the way it was asked, it's more the emotional side of things, right? Why are we worried about running out? We're worried about running out because we don't want to piss people off. Like that's the actual fear we have. We're worried that we're going to frustrate people. We're worried that they're going to lash out to us on customer service. They're going to be frustrated. But what you'd be surprised about is that is not a really rational fear, right? Test it, right? Test that idea. It's not a real fear, because most people, what they really get mad about is not that you ran out. That's not what they're mad about. They're mad that they didn't realize they were buying something that they wouldn't get.
Yeah.
So if you can assuage that fear and just relax them a little bit, communicate with them, like Grace is saying, send out an email every week, right? Like really what they're worried about is, like, you know, there's been a lot of folks like in the drop shipping world that have kind of burned a lot of people where, you know, it's going to be 21 days minimum to get it. And then you don't get it for 2 months, and 3 months later, you're like, where's my stuff? Right. And so instead, what you can do is use this first, you know, just to get an A for the course, is just every week that they're waiting, or every couple of days, shoot out an email and let them know, hey, look, this is what's going on with your order. And as long as they hear from you without having to reach out to you, a lot of times that goes out of the window. And so then the fear of running out of inventory is not that big, because the pain of running out of inventory doesn't show up. And even if it does, in that case, they'll probably say, thank you for letting me know, but I would rather just have my money back. And you just give them their money back. So that's the worst case scenario of running out. So don't worry about running out. The second thing, if you want to get A+ for it, you can use these stock out periods to actually bolster your business, right? So in essence, start teaching them what to say to other people about your product, right? Make them an expert in your product. Hey, by the way, here's how we use it. Did you know this feature exists? Get excited because this other benefit's on its way. As soon as we get it in, you'll be able to do this, you'll be able to do that. You'll be educate them about the use cases for your product, the problems that it's.
Yeah, that allows you to even build a more of a relationship with them too.
100%.
You're nurturing them and getting them excited for that product and learning more about them so that you can, you know, market to them in the future.
Exactly, because what are we always trying to do as marketers? We're trying to get people's attention. And whose attention do you have the most, but someone who has given you their money and you haven't given them their product? Oh, they're waiting. They're waiting to hear from you. They will open up every email. I guarantee that'll be the highest open rate you'll see. So why not use that to your advantage, right? So that's the biggest win. The second thing I'd say is, if you're running out of inventory a lot, then your price is probably too low. And honestly, what we had to learn the hard way is, if you're a brand starting out with a new product that you need to build your own customer supply acquisition process and your own supply chain, you must charge a lot. You just have to. Like when we started, we had a lot of debates and arguments around, well, we're paying $8 for this. Why are we going to charge more than 16, right? Keystone pricing, we went that way. Well, because we're a brand that has all these startup costs. That's the kind of stuff you do at scale when you're buying en masse. So as a brand, you should be charging 6 to 10x your product cost. That's my recommendation. Every brand starting out, at a minimum, it has to be. If you're paying $10 for it, charge 60 to $100 for it, because you've got to build out the rest of the business, right? And also, if you're worried about that, here's what happened with us. So we tested this idea. We started out, buy it for $10, sell it for 20, and it was flying off the shelf. When we talked about the influencer thing, just flying off the shelf, and our operations couldn't handle it. We just couldn't keep up. We were shipping and shipping and shipping, and then more orders would come in while we were shipping, and we weren't sleeping. Like our garage was full.
And we even had a time where we were packing the slaps at our manufacturers. I just add that in. It got so intense that we were
so insane.
Took our
literally would come off the sewing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and we'd
okay.
be
It's ready.
standing
Go,
there.
folks. Pack that one. Send it. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd come off the sewing machine. We'd pull up the printer with ShipStation and print out a label right next to the sewer, put it in the bag and ship it, and drive down to UPS at the end of the day. We just couldn't keep up. and keep
Yeah.
inventory in stock. So what we did was we raised the price to $30, from $20 to $30, 50% increase. We assumed that would drop the orders by 50%, and then we'd be able to keep up. Orders only dropped 30%. So it was our own minds that kept us from our artificially low price. So even though we had less orders, we still made more money. And guess what? Our operation happened. Finally, we were able to stop selling so much. We were able to sell slower. We were able to build up inventory, and it allowed us to keep pace with the orders that were coming in, maintaining inventory, and our supply chain didn't run out of inventory as much. Like I was talking about with the days of cover, instead of our daily sales being 100 a day, it dropped down to like 50 a day, and that was a much more manageable figure. And that's how we were able to stop from stocking out. And we set our forecast to 50 from then on. We would order 5,000 at a time, and all of a sudden the supply chain was just able to keep up, and we didn't have so many stockouts.
Yeah. And sorry, finish
No,
your
go ahead.
Okay. So, and also I would even just add in what was helpful, because what we would do at the beginning is just kind of gauge it based on units. I'm going to go back to what Emmanuel was talking about with the days of inventory, because we would just be like, well, we sell black mostly. So maybe if we're getting 1,000, let's get 50% of them should be, 50% of the 10 colors should be black. When in reality, we should be going based off the days of inventory. So if you are selling 10 a day, right, and you want to keep it in stock for 60 days, and you need at least 600 slaps, right? And so it's just things like you want to make sure that you're doing a bit more based on how you're selling than just gut. We had to get away from gut feel. We did a lot of gut feel, and which is how you need to start. But
it's how you start, but as soon as possible, start defining patterns, identifying patterns. Like one of them is days of inventory. Yep. That is a pattern that I will tell you will unlock your business for you, like in terms of the operation. Once we started thinking in terms of days, all of a sudden we can plan, because now you look at your ad side. If you're doing paid acquisition or you're doing influencer, if every influencer I use gets me 30 sales and I'm selling 10 a day, I should have 3 days worth of inventory available before we launch that. Boom. Yeah. Now you can match your sales to your selling pace and marketing efforts to your inventory amounts.
It's all about math and a science. So you start with your gut, and then you start to see a routine, right? You start to see a cadence.
Can I offer one other big thing? And I always get this question when we talk about the raising the price. People are like, well, how'd you test the price? And so let me answer that. I saw someone doing it here. Everyone's like, well, how do you raise the price, right? Because there's an assumption in there that, we were charging $20, $19.95. Now the price is going up to $30. And we have to figure out how we're going to measure that. Don't, right? Just make the price, put in Shopify, if you're using Shopify, just keep the price at $19.95 and put a compare at price at $30. Boom. All of a sudden now it's on sale at the price it was already at. Right. Yeah. Because again, if you're doing front end acquisition, these are people who have never seen it. They don't know any better. Right. And what you can do is keep the compare at price there and keep raising the original price. Right. That's one way immediately of kind of on the sly, without making it a big, huge ordeal, start changing the prices, or do it the opposite. This is the way we did it, and I prefer it this way. Just go from $20 price point straight to $30 price point. Some people will catch it. Some people might notice it, and that's okay. Just offer them the other price. Right. Yeah. And so do it from 20 to 30, and then start discounting your way back down if your sales go down too much. So for example, we went from $20 to $30 and sales dipped 30%. If they had dipped 70%, we would have still kept it at $30, but would have offered our email list, again, another plug for having an owned audience, would have offered our email list a 20% off sale, right? So now the price is $24, right? So boom, now we still have gone up from 20 to 24, offered at 10% off. Now the price is 27. And that's the simplest way I've found to test pricing without having to get into the game of, oh, sorry guys, but our costs are going up and we need to charge you more, and trying to apologize or explain away a price increase.
Yeah. That's all such great advice, you guys. Wow. Definitely learning a lot myself on this live from your laptop. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's keep moving, because we have like 2 more questions, and then we're going to jump into Klaviyo specific stuff. So you guys were featured on Oprah's favorite things list last year. So this is such an accomplishment. I want to understand how you guys got that opportunity. How did you get noticed by her? I'm sure it's her people too. and what did that mean to you? And how can others on the show that's listening, like, how can they get on Oprah's favorite things list?
Yeah, no. So press was something that was a goal of ours from the beginning, especially, of course, Oprah's favorite things is the number one, right? That we had on our list. And so we had a publicist from early on that fit within our price range, but that was starting to get us some really good traction. So I always advise, like, if you do have the ability or the budget to just maybe get a publicist that fits in your price range, that's also a hustler, that can just get you in front of different editors and writers. And so that was the momentum of the last, because we've, this is now 6 or 7 years in, 6 years in that we finally got on Oprah's favorite things. We met our goal. But it was a momentum of different press that, that got bigger and bigger, right? And so we started out on mostly blogs and different online platforms, and then we got into more online, big media brands, and then we got into more print media, and it was just kind of the snowball that turned into a nice big enough snowball to get noticed by Oprah's favorite things. And we actually, and again, it's like persistence, because we had reached out and I think almost every year from like 2016 or so, and we they didn't even ask us to send product at that time. And the next year we actually did send a couple products, but we just didn't get selected. Then the next year, and so it was actually persistence. And so by last year when we actually got selected with our warm slap, it was just such an amazing. When we got it, we just danced. That's what that's how we celebrate everything. But it was very exciting.
Dance, yeah, me too. Alone in my picture with my dog.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. So I guess, get a publicist. If you were to hire some key roles in the beginning, would you say that a publicist would be one of them? Like, you don't need to pay thousands and millions of dollars for one. Like, find one that's going to scale with your brand, right?
Exactly.
And persistence. Persistence.
Yep. Big time.
Awesome. Okay. So today you guys are in Ulta, JCPenney, Anthropology, and you're going to be partnering with Sephora this year, which is super exciting. But your e-commerce website is still your primary source of revenue. So that's awesome to hear. So let's chat about how you're getting consumers to your website. And I saw a couple questions in the chat about ad spend, and everybody's always wondering about ad spend because it's always changing every day. But what are your top 3 tips for driving traffic to your e-commerce store? And then what happens from there?
Yeah, I'll let Mel actually answer the traffic question.
Yeah, so I got a lot for this one. There's a bunch of different, so my first counterintuitive answer is I don't focus on driving traffic through paid channels at the beginning. A lot of people talk Facebook way too soon, right? Like I talked about earlier, there's a process to it. The first thing is making sure you can get your organic marketing going. Like, first of all, have a website, have an offer, make sure people can buy your stuff, then do organic traffic, which is essentially your social media. Put out offers, burn it up with good content, and blog posts, like content where you're ranking in SEO. Those are the first couple of things. We also added in PR, a little bit of PR and press there, reaching out to people, and then do hacky things. Like I was talking about on the Etsy message boards, you can jump in Etsy, if you're in Etsy, Facebook groups, reaching out in news groups. Basically, you're trying to, at the beginning, find people who have the problem that you solve as organically as possible. There's 2 reasons why, right? First, you need to understand if your product actually solves that problem. And if you're doing paid acquisition, you're not finding customers and talking to them. Facebook is doing that for you. Google is doing that for you. And the second thing is you need to understand if there are problems. So I also recommend people at the beginning do their own customer service, right? People always want to outsource customer service and then run paid ads. Don't do that, right? Because you're just going to lose out on all the information that you need that will help you later. Then the second thing is, as soon as possible, as you're selling, build up that owned audience and do your email marketing, get your back end sales going. Because I would tell you, is the biggest tragedy. There's people that come to us for help on our agency side, and they're like, we're doing, $1 million a year business, but we're scared to death because we're spending $300,000 on ads. And if we shut that off, our business shuts off. Right? Because are you emailing people? No, we don't have an email list. How do you not have an email list? You're $1 million business, right? Well, we have our customer list. It's not the same, right? Like, so be intentional. So for step 1, organic stuff, organic channels, channels that don't scale, right? Social media, organic, blog posts, content, basically connecting with your audience. Step 2, back-end sales. Confirm that people want to hear from you and that they will buy again after you've gotten them to buy from your social media. The third thing is then once you've got that going, then your back-end sales. For us, it's a little different because now we've gone through that transition, right? And so how we're getting traffic is essentially through our owned audiences. It builds a snowball if you do it that way. So we don't actually have to do a lot of paid traffic, right? All of our paid traffic is essentially retargeting. We generate our own traffic because we have a 500,000 person email list right now, right? So if we want to get 30,000 sessions to our website, we just send out an email, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, essentially we just send out an email or we hit our social media following. So we don't have to pay a lot for traffic, and we don't. We send our email to our own audience. That's the first thing, is how we generate traffic. And then to our 500,000 person audience on email, and then social media. The second thing is purely offers and products, new products. So we don't even need to worry about traffic sources anymore now, right? Because now if we want to grow, we can just introduce a new product, right? If we want to say, you know, our MOQs now, we've passed that. So if we need 1,000 sales at the beginning, it was tough to make 1,000 sales, but now if we send an email out, we'll make 1,000 sales. So we can order just about any product we need to at any MOQ, send out an email about it and have it sold before it even arrives, right? We can pre-sell it. So we can do that, or we can just offer a BOGO if we want to get more traffic and more sales. So that's at the point we've reached now. So I'd say do what I was talking about at the beginning if you're just starting out, the organic, then the back-end sales, then the paid traffic. And that will build you this owned audience that will lead to what we have now, which we can organically just launch new products and make different offers to our existing audience and not have to rely on Facebook and Google for traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely, you must be drinking Klaviyo's Kool-Aid, because we are all about that. We are all about that owned audience and owned marketing here at Klaviyo.
Oh, I signed up to this, the Kool-Aid, and drank it hard. I signed up to the cult of Klaviyo back in 2015, because you remember we were struggling. I had this boom and bust. 1 month I'd have the manufacturer deliver 1,000 units. Then the next month I'd have the influencers launch. Then the next month I'm out of inventory and have no marketing going. And it was just this dry spell. But once we started getting that landing page and getting people's emails, that dry month when I'm waiting for inventory, I could email them and start getting pre-sales and start getting sales going. And it allowed us to just smooth. So absolutely. I mean, we started back when Andrew Bielecki himself was on the customer service chats.
Oh,
right? Yeah, way back in the day. And I'd be talking directly to them like, why is this not working? You know, and they'd be fixing stuff. Yeah. So I've been a fanboy for a very long time, because to me, and I know one of the questions is like, how are we using it for email? How do we feel about it? I love it. Like, honestly, it has taught us how to do business, right? Because to me, Klaviyo is not just an email service provider. It's a way of doing business, right? It's a way of doing marketing by focusing on the back end, right? And if you can focus on that, that is what builds longevity. If there's anything you take away from us and our brand, it's that you don't have to rely on all the kind of guru paid ads, you know, all the different marketing hacks and marketing tricks. And we'll be looking at our emails. You'll see I built a flow 5 years ago, and Angel has done nothing but improve it. Like, it's just gotten better and better, but it's still the same thing from 5 years ago. And it's still making us 10% of our revenue. That's $750,000 a year, right? That it just comes in and we haven't touched it for the last 5 years. And we haven't even gotten into SMS and some of the other cool things that have happened, because it just works. So why fix it if it isn't?
Yeah, we could have a 3-hour show with you guys, and I'm definitely going to have to tell AB, we call him AB here, that you guys say hello, and we're going to have to hire you for our next event. K-Boss coming next year probably, but all right, let's keep moving, you guys, because we have like 12 minutes left, and I want to get through some Klaviyo questions. So let's dive into Klaviyo. I took a few questions from the community. First question overall, which I think I know what you're going to say. How would you say email marketing has contributed to the growth of your business?
I absolutely love it. I think we've answered that one. Absolutely love it. Like, it is the reason we're successful now and why we're here. Simply and yes, Klaviyo, and we'll get into why I love Klaviyo specifically. We've tried a bunch of, like, we're not just saying we love Klaviyo because it's the only thing we've tried, and it's the only thing. We've tried the Constant Contact, we've tried the MailChimp, we've tried the Active Campaign, we've tried the Get Drip, we've tried them all for an e-commerce business. But when it comes to an e-commerce business, Klaviyo specifically is the best purpose-built solution for people that have their own customer acquisition, where you're not just doing Amazon or FBA or anything like that, and you're building your own supply chain. Especially for brands like that, it is the best solution for it. There's just nothing as good with the whole dynamic products in there, the automated flows. Like, that's what you guys focus on and built from the start to solve for. Everything else is what everyone else does, like pretty emails, sending it out as a campaign so you can avoid Gmail. That's what everyone else does. But in terms of email marketing, if you really learn how to leverage it, like, we're emailing five times a week, almost every day of the week we're emailing. And to be able to do that without burning out your list, if you can solve for that, which we were able to figure out, then all of a sudden we don't have to do paid acquisition, right? So we can literally shut off our paid ads and not pay any more for front end sales and still achieve a certain baseline of sales. Right. And that there's a feeling that comes with that of comfort and security that you can't get from paid ads. So to me, email marketing is everything. And I know that there's been a couple questions where we weren't able to go deep, especially like the inventory one. But we have some stuff that we'll send out afterwards too, that what people can follow up with.
Yeah, you guys are obviously, in the community, so people can reach out to you guys to have some follow up. But okay, so I want to get into the next question, which comes from the community and is a little bit more tactical. What are your tricks for higher open rates and signups? So what questions or surveys do you ask to help segment your list? I think this is kind of a two-part question. So we'll start with, what are your tips and tricks for higher open rates for emails? And then how are you, what kind of questions are you using to segment your list? And I think we have an example of your 10% off form that you guys have on your website. Perfect. Thanks, Kelsey. Which, by the way, Kelsey did a great job last week, you guys, posting live from your laptop if you missed it. Okay, so this is a 10% off form. Let's talk about it. Higher open rates and your guys' form.
Right. So a couple of different parts to that question. So the first off is getting them on the list, right? And so when we use this form, we're trying to get them in and we ask them a little bit of something, right? Klaviyo has something that doesn't really get used often is some customer enrichment that goes on. So you can almost use Klaviyo like a mini CRM. So you ask them a question, it tags their profile with these custom properties. So we can ask here, what's your natural hair type? So later on, we can segment build people by what their hair type is, right? So that's a simple thing. The one thing I want to stress about this, I won't say you must, you don't have to, but I highly recommend offering some incentive to get on your list. Otherwise, people are just going to X this out, right? So that's the first thing. There's really, people don't really just want to hear from you, because if they want to just hear from you, they'll just go to your footer and sign up. So if you're going to interrupt them with a pop-up, offer some kind of incentive. That's my first recommendation. Then in terms of higher open rates and click-through rates, when they pop into our welcome series, like we talked about how we send to people, how we send to people 5 times a week. That's actually a lot. So the people in our welcome series, we keep them off of that campaign sending, right? So we're just sending them the initial flow. And our initial flow is 9 specific emails, and that's it. Over 45 days, we've actually lengthened that. When I first started out, I was bombarding people. When they signed up, they were getting an email every single day for the first 5 days, first 7 days. And then it would pop down to once a week, because it's kind of like buy or die, right? You're either going to buy or get off the list, right? But we've since spread that out over the course of a couple of weeks for those 9 emails. And also we've taken them out of getting the campaign sends, because they would be getting essentially an email every day from the flow and then an email every day from our campaign sends. So that was actually too much. So those are the biggest.
I think a lot of people typically have questions about that. Like, how do I not email them so much? Because there's flows going, there's campaigns going, but there's ways that you can kind of exclude people in Klaviyo so they're not getting too much.
That's correct. And that's the way to improve your open rate. People make open rates complicated and spam, all that stuff complicated. Really just send to people who want to hear from you. And so if you are sending to everyone, there's going to be a lot of people on there who are just flat out, they put the wrong email address in, or they misspelled it or something. And so it's like a bot. It's basically the equivalent of a bot. It's not going to be getting opens. So only send to people who have been opening consistently, right? So we have our one segment that we send to is people who have opened or clicked on an email in the last 100 days. They're the ones that are getting the 5 emails a week, right? Then we also have a different group, which is everyone on our list. They're only getting emailed when we have a big sale or a big announcement. And we send that to keep people, because we've excluded, we might have 160,000 people in our open clicked in the last 100 days. There may be 160,000, whereas we have 460,000 on our list. So there's 300,000 people who aren't getting emailed every day. So when are they going to be able to pop into that MQL? That's why once a month or once or twice a month, we'll send one email to everyone to just kind of see who's alive. And then those people will be put into the big list, and then we can keep going. And that's what helps us maintain, 15 to 20% open rate is what we're targeting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you kind of answered my questions about the segments. So I was going through your guys' account, and you have a lot of great segments. And I think segmentation is key. Anywhere from engagement tiers to spending tiers. What are, for those listening in today, what are some key factors to setting up really effective segmentation?
Yeah, the biggie is email engaged people, and then exclude people who, you found different things. So if you look at our campaigns, you'll see there's a bunch of different exclusions: people who don't open, people who are wholesale, people who signed up to some kind of giveaway or something like that. We'll create segments of those people because we know they potentially weren't brought onto the list for the right reasons necessarily. They just wanted a giveaway of an iPad or something. So we may exclude them because we know they're not as good or not as interested in our product and service. So they're not going to get emailed 5 times a week. The segment I think is the most valuable that people usually ignore is the sunset flow segment. So people who aren't opening and clicking. So we have one that we're emailing actively, that is people who are active, the ones that are inactive. So anyone who hasn't opened, like in the last 100 days, in the last 180 days, you'll find a range that works for you. Get those people off your list, because you're paying for every email that is on your list. And if they're not opening and they're consistently ignoring your emails, give them a flow, right? Check it out, send them a flow. There's a sunset flow, 2 or 3 emails. Hey, do you want to open this? And use more aggressive subject lines like, hey, what's going on? Are you there? To try and see if they're actually going to open. And if they open, then they can stay on the list. But if they're not opening, get them off your list. Because if they're not going to open your email, they're not going to buy from you. So why bother having them on your list?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Okay, so I want to look at one of your best performing flows, which is one of your welcome series. What is the strategy behind this flow? And I think we want to show the flow setup, and then we're going to show a couple email examples from it.
Yeah. So the way I look at the welcome series, it's to catch people who didn't buy right away, right? So to me, this also feeds into the idea of list building. I'm not really a big proponent of list building in and of itself. I think it promotes the wrong behaviors where people start doing giveaways and all these things just to get people on the list. You only want people, you really want people on your list who are going to buy your products. So they need to be interested. That's why I do like using a discount as lead magnet to get people to sign up on the list, because it implies in some way they're interested in a discount on buying your product, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. The second thing is then this flow. Let me zoom in here a little bit. The way we set up this flow is 9 emails, right? The way to think about your newsletter is these are people who signed up to get that 10% discount because they weren't ready to buy. So in essence, the way to think of your welcome series is, how do I get people who are interested in my product, just aren't ready to buy yet for some reason? So your goal in the welcome series is to hit the different types of reasons they may not be interested. So usually the different types of reasons, they don't have the budget, right? So that's where the discount code comes in. So we have the first email is simply, here's your coupon code. So we give them a little bit of a break on the price, right? There's also the 6th email, I believe, or the 5th one, where there's actually, if they get through the 2 weeks of emails, the 5th email is a bigger discount, which are really then hitting the price objection if that's their issue, right? So price is the first one. And then there's a reminder, which is the very last one. Don't forget about your 10% off, second to last on the second column there. So there's 3 emails of the 9 that are purely the discount code, right? Yeah. Then the second thing is maybe they don't know if the product will really benefit them. That's where we have 4 emails in here. After the first one up to the second discount code. So 6 proven reasons to use satin, 3 surefire reasons you'll love this slap, 6 reasons your morning self will thank you for sleeping in a slap. These are all related to the problems our product solves. Yeah. So we're giving them reasons to be like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that either. And if you think these are hard to write, please don't, because all these are literally blog posts. Angel and Grace wrote blog posts initially, 6 tips for this and 6 tips for that. And then we got, some people on Fiverr and BlogMutt back in the day, and they would just spit out a $25 for a blog post. And we just take that simple blog post and that became the email. And we have some examples. They're well designed now.
That's the forward one. Yeah. So this is just one of them. For the first, you said 6 or 8 are discounts, and then it goes into more educational, solving the pain point, which are the next ones. So we have one really pretty one here, and then go over one more, Kels, and then we have one that's just very plain and straightforward.
And this is the simplest one. This is what we started. You see, it's not very well designed like the other one, but it was enough. Start there, because remember what you're trying to do in your welcome series. You're not trying to impress them with how beautiful your designs are. You're trying to solve the problem and answer whatever objection they have to buying your product. They already have shown they're interested. There's just some issue. So you're trying to solve the issue. Hit them with the content, right? So if you go back up a couple slides to the welcome series, so that's what the first 6 of the 9 are. And once you've hit all the different potential objections, and you'll know them again, if you started out organically and you're doing your customer service and you're doing social media, you're hearing from people the types of questions and objections they have about your product, right? So you're building email content to address that to everyone that signs up to your list. After your 15% off, and this is a little trick I learned from Drew Sanaki, it's called a discount ladder. You know, you initially offer them 10%. If they're still on the fence and you've dealt with all the objections, maybe your price still is too high. And this is how you can price test some more. Give them a deeper discount, right? A discount ladder. So now instead of 10%, like, wow, okay, 15%, you know what? Now I'm ready to buy, right? So that's what it would look like, the 15% off. Now you've dealt with all the objections, you've dealt with price, you've given them a deeper discount. Now you have permission, in my opinion, to sell to them, right? And so the next 3 emails, if we go back up, our next 2 emails now start to get more, or back up to the, yes. So the best-selling satin line cap. Now we're talking about our product. The previous ones weren't about our product. They were about the problems our product solves. Now we've dealt with the price objection. Now we're saying, look, here's what our satin line cap will do for you. And here's what other people, social proof, right, have said about us. And we have influencers in that email. We have customers in that email. We have reviews, and we're selling. And then if that still doesn't convince them, then it's like, you know what, forget it. You're out of the welcome series now. So
Buy or die, baby.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have to keep moving. We have 2 minutes left. For those that can stay on, we encourage you to stay on. If not, if you have to leave, recorded. We haven't even got to your abandoned cart series, but that's another great flow that you guys have, is your abandoned cart flow.
I can talk about it real quick.
Yeah, do you want to just briefly talk about that real quick?
Yeah, it should be a crime if you're an e-commerce entrepreneur and you don't have your abandoned cart running. It is so easy. It's easy money. It's just laying there for you. Please set it up. Sign up for Klaviyo. Set up the abandoned cart, because it's a couple clicks. 3 emails that I use. The first one is simply reminding people, right? Because right now what happens is people have literally they went to your store and they didn't buy, and they may have just forgotten. Those are the people the abandoned cart is built for, right? The first one is simply reminding them, and that comes out the same day, a couple hours after they abandon their cart. The second email is urgency. I don't give a coupon code yet. A lot of people give a coupon code right away, but 24 hours later, they may just literally have forgotten. The kid spilled something and they had to go away. You're just saying, hey, look, there's only 24 hours left. Your cart will expire soon. Then the third one, this is now 48 hours later, is a discount, where you're saying, all right, look, I get it. Maybe you had an issue. Maybe you didn't like the price. How about a coupon code? 3 emails. Easy money.
Awesome. That's amazing. Okay, so last question here in Klaviyo. What metrics are you guys looking at in Klaviyo that are helping you? Wow, let me start this question over. What metrics in Klaviyo are you looking at to determine the success of your email campaigns and flows? How are you using those metrics to make longer term decisions?
Yeah, first thing is revenue, right? So the one thing that separates Klaviyo from almost all the other email marketing service providers is it is focused on making money. So we start there, placed order rate and placed order amount, right? Yeah. Those are the 2 key metrics that you should use on every campaign, every flow, everything. The second thing is revenue per recipient. That's a good one because it evens out the amount you're making between email campaigns versus email flows, right? Because they go out to different audiences, different sizes, different timings, all of that. Revenue per recipient. 2 key metrics around revenue. The second thing is open and click-through rate, right? To me, and they speak to different things. Your open rate is about your subject line. If you're not getting good opens, I forgot to say that earlier, but just fix your subject line and get it more enticing, more interesting. If you get your open rate up, you get your click-through rate up. Then now you have an opportunity to get your click-through rate up. If your click-through rate isn't high enough where you want it to be, that's the content of your email and the offer. You got to sell that click. A lot of people are just like, I don't want to, sell to them or be pushy. Please be pushy, right? Like they're on your list because they want to hear from you. So ask them for something, even if it's as simple as click here to read my blog post. Like one thing that we use a lot is if you have a blog post, take the first paragraph, put that in an email and a link to the rest of the blog post. Simple, done, easy, right? Send that out once a week. And so That's open, click through rate. Then those are the upside metrics. The downside metrics, you want to see if you're failing, like if you're burning your list, right? People always say, oh, you're burning out my list. You're not burning out your list. You can control that by watching your unsubscribe rate and your spam complaint rate. If those start to go up, then you know you're emailing too much, right? If they start to go down, then you know you can email a little bit more. The other way you can know if you're burning out your list, you know, the scary word is simply, are you making money on every campaign? Right? To me, when people are like, am I emailing too much? You're not emailing enough. If you're asking me that question, you'll know when you're not emailing enough. The easiest way is if every campaign you send makes money, then you can email more, right? Because you're making money on your emails.
Yeah.
Right? It's the closest thing to an ATM machine that we have, right? If I send an email out and I make a couple $100 on an email, send another email, right?
Yeah.
Don't sit there. I don't want to burn them out. I don't want to send the email out, right? Like do it again and again and again until you start to see, okay, all right, because really here's what it's saying. There's a certain amount of your audience at any time, given point in time, that is ready to buy. They just need to be reminded. They need to be told, hey, oh, that's right, I forgot about those guys. So if you show up at that time, you're going to get them. Now, there's a point at which once those people have bought you, even if you email 20 times a day, those people who are ready to buy at that time, they have bought. That's why you use placed order rate as your gauge of if I'm emailing too much or too little.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, my last question was going to be like, what resources or influencers do you guys go to for advice and inspiration?
My brother.
I was going to say, you guys are the thought leaders.
There are a couple. I'll have a couple.
Yeah, why don't you just drop a couple resources right now to some people,
Sure.
you know, who you guys listen to or go to for advice?
Yeah, for different things, especially starting out. Like the one thing I will say, the inventory stuff, I haven't found. No one's really doing it. But again, I happen to have worked at Amazon, so that helped. But Shopify asked me to do an inventory management course. So I think we're going to send a link out for that. So if you want to dive deep into the idea of days of cover, managing your supply chain, managing your suppliers, manufacturers, specifically for e-commerce businesses, we'll send you the link for that and you can watch that. The other thing is I do have setting up your email, setting up your Klaviyo. I asked permission if you guys want. We have a course that I just finished. It's all done on getting a rock solid Klaviyo account, getting it set up, auditing it, and me walking through completely setting it up. One of our clients gave us permission to do that. We'll share that with everyone who's on the call. You'll get access to watch that, as well as an audit sheet and our best example subject lines and our best example email templates. We're going to give that to everybody too. And then the people I learned from, like I said, the e-commerce fuel community, if you haven't been a part of that, is massive. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Learned so much from them. And they've helped us out tremendously. Great community, great forum. I think there is a hurdle rate. You got to be selling already. It's a community for bootstrapped e-commerce sellers. So they have some questions you got to answer to get in. But if you can get in, it's an amazing community. That's number one, right? Steve Chu, if you're just getting started out, and that guy, he taught me so much. And he's got so much good stuff. Steve Chu is a phenomenal one.
He's from My Wife Quit Her Job or something. Yeah, he's great. He's a great partner of Klaviyo's too.
Exactly. And the people who are asking about paid ads, I would tell you by far, hands down, the people, Your Admissions, the people over at CTC created a program called youradmission.com. It is by far the best training I've seen for folks who are just like, I'm scared to death of paid ads. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Please walk me through it, baby steps, and demystify it for me. Teach me the right way. That is the best program to learn paid ads. So when you're at that point and you're ready, jump into the Your Admission program and you'll learn how to do Facebook ads the right way.
Awesome.
It's honestly how we do it now for our clients. We use those processes. Like it's just, they're just really, really good at it.
That's great resources. What about you, Grace, real quickly? Who do you look to for inspiration and advice?
Yeah, no. So I really like the Traction series. So so mine, I look more at like the business management and leadership courses and that kind of thing. So Gino Wickman has been really, really good about that. Also, Scaling Up is another really good program to just kind of use to implement as in your own businesses. And mostly those two have been my go-to for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Well, that was so much information. Holy cow. Our community loved it. I was just watching the chat the whole entire time. Such a great conversation with you guys. Thank you so much for sharing all of that inspirational advice and just actionable tips with the community today. I love all the different ways you guys are marketing the brand and using Klaviyo to grow. Really excited to see what's next for you. So Grace, can you give us like a 30-second rundown of, give us like the top 3 best hair care tips and maybe show us a little bit about your product?
Yeah, so the biggest hair care tip I can say is anytime your head is against anything, a hat, a headrest, a pillow, make sure it is covered with satin, whether you actually have your hair covered with satin or you're using a pillowcase. So because cotton is a moisture absorbing, you want to have your hair, you don't want your hair against it where it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of friction and tangles that can lead to breakage. So that's one. I would also say the goal of healthy hair is adequate moisture, not too much, not too little. So make sure that you're using the right moisture for your own hair. And then, yeah, I can, I would put it on, but actually I have a couple back here. I have my little faceless friends to
I love those. They're so
original basics, the slap. And then we just launched this new line actually that has a wrap that you can wrap up yourself and make it look how you want it to look. So your wrap, your way, but it's also satin lined on the inside. And then we're actually coming out with many of our products are unisex, but we're coming out with more products that are catered more to men. So Emmanuel actually has one of our flat build baseball hats that he can put on maybe really quickly. There we go. There we go. So that's satin lined as well. So really, really soft on the forehead, soft on the hair, and also protective of those edges as you're taking it on and off. So
wonderful. That was an awesome 30-second rundown. So
yeah.
Cool. So before anybody goes, I have 2 more things. I'd love to know how everybody enjoyed the episode of Live from Your Laptop today. So I'm going to launch a poll. This just helps us keep bringing you amazing Live from Your Laptops. So if you would share this with the community, we are so grateful for that. So please take this poll. While we're doing this, I want to do the giveaway questions. We're going to do 2. So we have one giveaway question is speaking of, silk on the head. We're going to give away $150 worth of Grace Eleyae products to one lucky winner. So that question is going to be, if everybody's ready, you got to get your fingers ready. Grace, what is that question? Do you want to ask it?
Sure. So Emmanuel is my brother. So where is our dad from?
Oh, snap.
I told you.
That's a good listener. My mom's from Kenya. So all of the Kenyas, my mom's actually from Kenya. My dad is indeed from Nigeria. So I don't know who got it first. But
it's going to be a trick question. So Kristen Polois, I'm sorry, I butcher names all the time. Kristen, she got Nigeria first. She is the winner of the $150 worth of Grace Eleyae products. And then our second giveaway, all right, let's refresh your fingers, everybody. I'm going to end this poll. Second question is, Emmanuel, do you want to ask this?
Sure. So it's all about making money with Klaviyo. How many emails should you have in your abandoned cart that I recommended? Bam, that was easy. Extra credit is what are they?
Well, wait, we can't do extra credit.
I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. We didn't tell them the prize though, did we?
We did. So you can tell them.
Who's Colby?
Colby, look at Colby.
Look at Colby. Yes.
Yes, Colby. Okay, hold on, guys. I got the rules are whoever answers it first is the winner. So let me go up here a little bit. Man, you guys are on it today.
Typing speed lessons.
Okay. All right, well, I'll offer it to.
I have to go all the way up. Okay, here we go. Emily. Hi, Emily. So Emily was at our LA workshop. She got 3, so she is correct. She is the winner of, and Emmanuel, you guys are gonna do a one-on-one with the brand, do an audit of their Klaviyo account and help them out a little bit, right?
Yeah, basically it's a full setup. Basically we charge $2,500 for an implementation. We'll be giving that to the winner, getting your full account set up. If you already have one, we'll be fully auditing it, getting it set up to best practices. If you don't have one, we'll help you migrate it over and get it set up, get your initial flow set up, get your initial campaign set up, and get all that done. So for you. And for the rest of you guys, just for attending, if you are the way we do that, our process for doing that, go to eleyasystems.com/Klaviyo. I have a walkthrough of how I do what I'm going to do for this person as a video. I won't do it for you like I will for the winner here, but you can at least watch how we do it.
Yeah, we'll
Fabulous.
send out those. We're going to definitely send out some links in our follow-up email to you guys. For anybody that attended the show today, you'll be getting those kind of VIP resources. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm hoping that you were able to take away so many nuggets of information from Emmanuel and Grace to try with your business. A huge, huge thank you to the family over at Grace Eleyae. I know that we have Emmanuel and Grace on the call, but we also have some of your other family joining us today on the call as well. So thank you guys for being here and sharing your incredible story with us. The recording will be coming your way in a bit with those few additional resources that you can catch up on. Next week, we are heating it up on Live from Your Laptop with Truff Hot Sauce. I am super excited, you guys. We've got one of the co-founders and their marketing agency joining us on the show. This brand is definitely heating it up, so you won't want to miss it. Until next time, you guys, thank you so much for joining. Please tell everybody in the community about Live from Your Laptop, and I'm sending warm and sunny vibes your way if you need it this week. Have a good week, you guys.